If you're looking to hit that wildcard button in game week 10, don't worry, I've got you covered with the ultimate draft in today's video. And starting off our ultimate wildcard for game week 10, we have gone with the goalkeeper pairing of Areola and Turner, as I do believe they are arguably the best pair of goalkeepers that you can get in the game at the moment, both at rock bottom prices below 4.5 million, so help to free up a little bit of extra funds for attacking players as well. And with West Ham's fixtures being an absolute delight in the next kind of 5 and 6, Everton, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Tottenham and Fulham, a really good run. You've also got Turner in there for that Spurs game where Nottingham Forest do play Fulham for that week, so a very easy rotatory kind of player that you can go for, but you are going to be playing Areola over the next 5 to 6 fixtures. Turner only coming in for that Fulham game as well, so arguably the best goalkeeper pairing, like I said, that you can have over the next 5 to 6 game weeks. That's why they are both starting us off in our game week 10 wildcard draft. Moving into the backline, we're going to start off with a man who was in everybody's initial drafts in game week 1. It was Gabriel. He did disappoint, didn't play the opening 3 fixtures, was coming off the bench, picking up 1 pointers, a super frustrating player to own, but has now seen, I think, about a 0.3 price decrease. He's down at 4.7 million, but in that time period, he has earned himself back into Arteta's kind of plans. And with Arsenal, again, having arguably some of the best fixtures in the league over the next kind of 5 to 6, you do have to say he's looking very good value for money. Arsenal as well, 3rd for XG conceded over the opening kind of 9 game weeks. So, you know, good defence. Good fixtures coming up. Sheffield United, Newcastle not the greatest, Burnley, Brentford, Wolves, Luton. A really good run for Arsenal, getting a player who seems to have earned himself back into that starting 11, nailed, nice cheap bottom price at 4.7 million. So I definitely think going for Gabriel or maybe one of the Brighton defenders does make sense as one of the defensive positions. Moving on to our next defender, and it is Udogie. Now, we're going to keep him for the next few weeks. Obviously, the ideal replacement would be someone like Estupinian to have in this team, with Brighton's fixtures taking a real big turn in game week 10. Fulham, Everton, Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest. But we've gone with Udogie for now. Spurs have looked super impressive. They haven't played yet since post-international break, but Udogie and Pedporo have looked fantastic. Been very consistent point scorers. Spurs as well at the back are, you know, picking up some really good clean sheets, picking up really good defensive data as well. So no kind of issues there, to be honest. I think, though, if we get news that Estupinian is fit, I think that would be my replacement, Udogie for Estupinian. But at the moment, we're going to go with Udogie in the back line. Moving on to our 3rd and final defender of the starting 11, and it is Matty Cash, a player I feel if you are wildcarded this game week has to be an essential for you to have. You know, looking at the fixtures that Aston Villa have got coming up, Luton, Nottingham Forest, Fulham, Tottenham, Bournemouth, a really good run. Some of the attacking data this man is picking up as well. Some of the positions that he is getting into as well. Not played in game week 9 so far, as Aston Villa are playing a little bit later today. But, you know, Matty Cash is one of those players that I would be absolutely dying to have in my team if I didn't already have him. Has seen a massive increase in his price rise. Started the game at 4.5 million. I think he's up to about 5.1, 5.2 million now. And if these good performances over the next few, with great fixtures coming up, keep going, you can only expect to see him potentially rise to maybe like 5.3, 5.4, maybe even 5.5. But if I was wildcarding this week, he would be one of the first names that I would be looking to acquire for this team. Moving into the midfield, we're going to keep with the Villa theme. Like I said, these fixtures are absolutely amazing. Luton at home is always a good fixture, especially for attacking players as well. And that is why I have selected Diaby in there. I've been super impressed with him, a player who is massively passing the eye test for me. I brought him in on my own wildcard, was a little bit disappointed in game week 9, but was coming back from a kind of muscle injury, so only played about 60 minutes. So it'll be interesting to see how he does get on against West Ham a little bit later today, but at the moment he is in the plans. If it doesn't look too great for him, I think Matoma as well could be a great shout to potentially replace him with. But yeah, like I said, really impressive fixtures. He's been a really impressive performer over the opening couple as well, so I would be looking to kind of have one at least one Villa attacker for this good fixtures. You know, if Chris Wood can get a brace against Luton, like, who else is going to be able to score? You imagine top quality players like Diaby would be absolutely feasting against that poor Luton side. Moving on to our next midfielder, again, a player who hasn't played in game week 9 so far, so if he is injured, do just ignore this one. It is Jarrod Bowen, one of my favourite players to own in FPL. I seem to always end up with him in my team at some point during the year because he's just one of those kind of key figureheads for West Ham. A delight to own as well. And with, like we said with Areola, the fixtures coming up for West Ham are incredible. Everton, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Tottenham and Fulham. And you imagine Jarrod Bowen, people like James Ward-Prowse, they are going to be feasting over this period in time. I think both are fantastic options. It's just whether or not budget dependent which way you want to go. I think Jarrod Bowen has that slight little bit more explosivity about his game and potential point scoring ability over James Ward-Prowse. But with the fixtures, with Jarrod Bowen starting the season incredibly well and getting that England call up, you know, super impressing Gareth Southgate, impressing me as well with the eye test and rewarding his owners so far. So like I said, game week 10, we want to get at least one West Ham attacker in to take advantage of their really good fixtures. Moving on to our next midfielder, and it is James Maddison. Again, a player who started the season incredibly bright. Spurs' fixtures are tailing away a little bit. They're becoming a lot more hit and miss. Crystal Palace, Chelsea, Wolves, Aston Villa, Man City, like, it's starting to tail away. And, you know, this is going to be the big test for Spurs, whether or not they can keep up this impressive form that they've showed at the start of the season, and whether or not the performances from players like James Maddison, Son, Adoji, Ped Porro can continue against better sides. But I think for the value that you're getting with him, he offers, you know, really, really good value. And I think for the next few, I still potentially would hold him. There isn't anyone that's absolutely screaming out to me. Maybe a Brighton player if you want to potentially go down that route. But at the moment, I think I would keep him and then maybe see. Hopefully we can get some positive news around maybe Eze or Elise coming back as they play Burnley, Everton and Luton and Bournemouth in kind of a 5-game week stretch from game week 11 onwards. So maybe it's the 1 week kind of have Maddison. You know he's going to play. You know he's probably going to get some points against Crystal Palace as well. And then when that Crystal Palace kind of fixture swing comes in and hopefully attacking players like Eze or Elise are back, maybe that's the switch we go for. But at the moment, I think I would still keep James Maddison. Right, moving on to our next midfielder, and it is a man who has been cooking over the past 5 game weeks. It is Mohamed Salah, 52 points over the past 5 game weeks, which is honestly phenomenal. And this is going to be the main reason that you are wildcarding in 10. Yes, there are big fixture swings for other teams, but you are wanting to get Mo Salah in your team because he's only at 37% owned, so a lot of us don't have him in our teams, and this for me would be the main reason that I potentially would be looking to wildcard in this week, to get Salah in, take advantage of some really good fixtures. Nottingham Forest, Luton, Brentford, Fulham, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace, an amazing fixture run for Liverpool as well. And if you are going to keep Haaland in your side, Salah does offer that kind of rotatory captain potential option. You're looking at the fixtures around game week, let me get those up, 14 and 15. Liverpool do take on Fulham and Sheffield United, whereas City have Tottenham and Villa. So there for me is back-to-back game weeks that you would potentially be going for Mo Salah. On penalties as well, it seems like he's got over that kind of little bit of curse he had last year where he couldn't just put a penalty away. Seems like he's got over that. He now knows what he's doing, so hopefully it's back to the Salah of old. Obviously it's going to disappear for AFCON around game week 21, but at the moment, at the time of recording, I think I would still be looking to get Salah in for the next kind of 11 game weeks for me. I think the Liverpool fixtures that are coming up, there's some of the worst teams in the league. Salah seems to be cooking, seems to be picking up constant points as well, and does offer himself as a great captaincy option. Right, moving on to our final midfielder, and it is Saka. He's back at his starting price at 8.5 million, so really accessible to get back in our sides. And like we said with Gabriel, there's some really nice, tasty fixtures coming up for Arsenal. That Sheffield United one, we're looking at that in game week 10. Saka again offering himself as a potential captaincy option for that game week. You know, just putting it out there. Picked up an assist against Chelsea yesterday as well. So definitely a player I'm looking to bring into my team with transfers. And if I was wildcarding, I think I would be having Saka on my wildcard, to be honest. Like I said, the fixtures have been, really good. Saka has been a very good constant point scorer. Yes, there is still the doubts about his injury, but I think with him not going on international duty, kind of having like 10 days off from football is going to do him the world of good. It looked like he just needed a break, to be honest. Just refresh himself, get himself back to full fitness. And I thought at times today during that Chelsea game, he was super impressive. Definitely passing the eye test for me, and definitely a player I want to have in my team. And if I was wildcarding in game week 10, he would be a player, like I said, one of the first names that I would be putting on the team sheet. Right, let's move on to our two forwards, and we do start off with a controversial figure at the moment in the FPL community. It is Erling Haaland. Did score yesterday against Brighton. Arguably could have scored a second. It wasn't the easiest chance. It was a good save by Steele in the end. But there is question marks about Erling Haaland with this City kind of fixture swing. City as well aren't looking 100%. They let Brighton back into that game in the second half. I know that's going to massively frustrate Pep Guardiola. He loves to kind of control and dictate games and limit opposition's kind of chances. And in that game, they let Brighton back in, they let them get the goal, they let them build their confidence, and I think that is going to massively frustrate Pep Guardiola. Going into game week 10, it is a derby against Manchester United. They don't look great at the moment. They don't look convincing in their performances, but anything can happen in a derby, can't it? Usually when that happens, it is the team who is kind of in the lesser of form that does come away with the result. So it would not surprise me to see Manchester United win next game week. Bournemouth in game week 11 is great. They are yet to win a game in the Premier League and are conceding a lot of big opportunities and a lot of XG conceded. So you would imagine you probably would maybe gamble with Haaland on the captaincy. It's a tough choice between him and Mo for that game week. Luton away, Bournemouth at home. You probably would have to back the home team. Then Chelsea away. Again, that game could go either way. Liverpool, Tottenham. There's some scope to definitely go without Haaland. I definitely think on these game week 10 wildcards, it's just how ballsy do you feel against like the teams like Bournemouth. They're the ones. Then they do play Luton in game week 16, and that is probably a fixture. Like those two are probably the big ones that you want to have Haaland available for. And if you can't easily get back to him, maybe you've spread out the funds a little bit. Yeah, they're the ones that could absolutely decimate your rank, but he's only picked up 0.31 expected goals over the past 3 fixtures. I know he scored an absolute rocket today, but again, it would have been very low XG for him. So again, the data's not quite there, the fixtures aren't there. I definitely think there is a case to potentially be had that maybe we go without Haaland, but we're saying all this. The man could still score an absolute shit ton of goals over this period. So I think it's worth just keeping him. Like, I think this week his EO was 150%. So yeah, it's scary going without him, and I get that. There are definitely positives to be had, but I can't really see what else you can do with this extra budget that's kind of making me go, yeah, I want to play against like everyone else in the game and kind of go against the norm, to be honest. There doesn't seem to be like any kind of standout players or, other ways that I could utilize this budget that would make me feel very comfortable going without Erling Haaland. Right, finishing up, we're going to talk about Ollie Watkins. He is my final player in this game week 10 wildcard draft. Like I said, with Cash and Diaby, the fixtures are great. I think if I was to go for 2 of the Villa players rather than 3, it would be Cash and Watkins. But yeah, it's that Luton fixture and the Fulham ones. Really want to take advantage of that. Emery has built a very good side this year. Watkins looks to be, just filthy in front of goal, picking up assists as well, helping out his team, and has been a very consistent point scorer so far. Like I said at the start of the video, I am filming this before the game today, so if any of these players do pick up a knock, just be a little bit more careful and, hesitant around picking them, or maybe wait for team news, or just completely ignore my advice, which is what most people do anyway, so yeah. Just go for that. But yeah, Ollie Watkins is going to finish our team. He should be feasting over the next kind of 4 to 5 game weeks, and definitely a player I think you can even hold throughout and maybe, hold him during those time periods where the fixtures aren't as good, because Villa, they're a very good side this year. Ollie Watkins seems to, like I said, be a very consistent point scorer. So I think even if you had to hold him for like the City and the Arsenal game, I don't think it would be the end of the world. Right, before we finish up, let's have a quick run through of the bench. We spoke about Matt Turner, Charlie Taylor. Yep, Burnley have some really good fixtures coming up. They've got Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Arsenal, West Ham, Sheffield United, Wolves. So really good fixtures. Definitely somewhere you could see yourself potentially playing Charlie Taylor. Yet to keep a clean sheet though, Burnley. And yeah, They don't look great, do they? But 3.9 million, I don't think you really can complain. And if it does have to come down to it and you have to play him, it's not the end of the world, is it? Cameron Archer, 4.5 million. Mbama's there if you need to go for a cheaper option. And then Mark Gahey, like we briefly touched on about Crystal Palace's fixtures. I know they lost 4-0 to Newcastle today. That's kind of a little bit of a blip. Before this game, 3 clean sheets. Obviously, really good defensive data as well. But they've got Burnley, Everton, Luton and Bournemouth coming up in their next few. So I think he offers himself as a really good rotating kind of defender with these other ones for when Crystal Palace's fixtures are good. And Roy Hodgson always has good defensive data with his side. Before this game, I think Palace were 5th for XG conceded as well. Obviously, that has now been skewed by that 4-0 defeat at Newcastle. You know, Newcastle are one of the best teams in the league, though, at the moment. So we do kind of have to take that with a pinch of salt. And when we're playing against these lesser teams, you would hope that Crystal Palace could remain resolute and keep a clean sheet. So that was the Game Week 10 wildcard draft. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. If you've got any questions about your team, leave them in the comments as well, and I will try to answer as many as possible. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy the rest of your day.